Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we're in Masechtas Bava Metzia daf Kuf Yud Ches. We are going to begin on the bottom of Kuf Yud Zayin Amud Beis by the Mishnah. Says the Masnisa. V'chein beis abad shehu bonei b'selwa. So you have a person who has this beis abad, which is for olives, and it is built on a bedrock of sorts. V'gina achas al gabov, and there is a garden that's above it. So just like we've been discussing of houses of two levels, so here we're talking about two different owners in which they're involved in different tasks with that property. And then the Mishnah tells us v'nivchas, the whole thing caved in. So now the person who's on the top is not able to do his planting. So Hari Balagina Yorid V'Zarei Lamata. So we allow the Balagina, the one who was on the top, to be able to now do his planting and his gardening on the bottom, Ad Shiasel Beis Bado Kifin, until the Beis Abad, the one who was on the bottom, builds a dome so that he'll be able to build on the top like before. Okay. And then the Mishnah tells us Hakaisel v'Elon shenaf. Let's say you have a wall or a tree that fell, and it fell over Rishus Harabim. So obviously that's quite dangerous. The hiziku, and it damaged other people. So patum shalom. It says you don't have to pay. It says Rashi, patum shalom demai havi le'mevid onusu. It was beyond your control. Trees fall. So how am I supposed to anticipate a strong tree is going to fall or a strong wall is going to fall? And therefore, if it fell and there's just around him, and it, in the process of when it landed, it hurt someone, so then you're going to be potter because it's an einus. However, says the Mishnah, Nasnalo Zman Lokuts. Let's say Beis Din saw that this tree was on the ground, they knew it was yours, and they say you have a certain amount of time to chop it up, or Lokuts as Elon, the lister as a kaisel, to remove the wall, which that doesn't mean it actually fell, because you do have to remove the pieces. But the question is, if let's say for whatever reason they see a tree and they say, we want you to chop it down, we want you to remove this wall, it's too close to the Rishus Harabim, v'naflu b'taychazman, and during that time that they gave you, let's say 30 days to do this, it fell, then potter, because they gave you that window of opportunity to do this task, and that time hasn't elapsed yet. Lachar zman chayv. However, after that amount of time, if you were negligent and you didn't do as they asked, then if it fell down, then you're going to be chayiv. Misha hayakaisu samach haginis chavero. Person has a wall next to his friend's garden, v'nafel, and your wall fell into this other person's property, into this garden. V'omerlo panei avanecha. And the guy says, could you please do me a favor and clear away all these stones? V'omerlo, as we continue to Kuf Yud Ches Amud Aleph, and he says, Higiyucha, says Rashi, Heim Shulcha, these broken pieces of brick are yours, keep them. So the Mishnah says, Ein Shaimin Lo, he doesn't have to listen to him. Says Rashi, Im Ein Ze Roitze, Ein Kain Lo Davar Hefker O Matana. Even though he's making these things ownerless, the other person who has these bricks on his property, they do not have to acquire it, and therefore he's not going to listen to him. However, Mishikibulov, let's say this guy actually did accept these bricks, these broken bricks on his property. Then afterwards he says, Heilaches Yitziosecha, you know what? I changed my mind. I know you spent some time collecting these bricks. I'll pay you for your expenditures. V'ani etol ashli, and let me get my bricks back. In Shaimin Lo. At that point, we don't listen to him, because at that point, as Rashi says, Afal Gav the Bechol Duchte Islay Shava Kesef Kekesef. Okay, let's hold off. So, because he was already kona it, you can't retract anymore. Hasaychas Apoil. That Rashi I just began is actually on this last part of the Mishnah. You have workers that Lasosimo Batevin Vakash, and they're gathering up straw and things of that nature. V'yomelo tainli sachar, he wants to get paid. V'yomelo tomash yasi sebescharcha. Instead of me paying you in cash, why don't you just take some straw? So in Shaimelo, So in that case, we do not listen to him. And this is what Rashi says. We know that Shava Kesef is equivalent to money. So why do you have to pay your workers in cash? You should be able to pay them in Shava Kesef, like in straw. Which is specifically money. So when it comes, even though normally we do say Shava Kesef, that does not apply when it comes to your workers. However, Mishakibelov, let's say he does accept this deal and takes the straw. You say, you know what? Give me back the straw. I shouldn't have let you take the straw of his wages. Give me the straw, and I'll pay you. In that situation, we will not listen to him anymore because it's too late. Question 1. So matam de ein sharmin lo. This is straight Rashi. Rashi said, even though normally Shava Kesef, Gabi poil ksiv bal tolon scharo, you cannot withhold back his wages. Madiyahani behedya mashma, that which you can get hana immediately from, namely with money, so you can buy things. Okay. Weiter. So going back to the part of our Mishnah, it says nivchasa. So let's say the top person who was on the garden had difficulty being able to plant because the thing collapsed. Now, how much collapsed? Actually, we had this before. Rav Omer Baruba, the majority has to have it collapsed in order for him to be able to go down. Shmuel Omer Ba'arba, even if it's a small amount, even if it's just like 4 tfachim that collapsed, so the din is that he's allowed to go down as well. So Rav Omer Baruba, Ava Ba'arba, Adam Zareya Chetzel Amat v'Chetzel Mal. We had this about living on 2 different levels, so it's the same thing. It's only if the majority collapsed. If all was 4 tfachim, okay, so he could still do his gardening on the top, and then give him a small amount of space on the bottom, equivalent to the small amount that broke. Shmuel Omer no, but Arba, even at 4 tefachim, a person doesn't want to have to plant top and bottom. So why does it mention the case of gardening? Why does it mention the case of 2 houses that fell, which has the same achlokes Rabbi Shmuel Sricha? Yashmin in Dira, Bahakar Shmuel, maybe only there Shmuel says that a person doesn't want to live in 2 places. Shim Deloy Vidi Inchi Didari Porta Hacha. You don't want to live some here and some there, a little bit on the bottom floor, a little bit on the top floor. By planting, it is possible that people will plant in different locations. So maybe he'll agree to Rav in that case. Maybe only when it comes to gardening. However, when it comes to living, a person doesn't want to live like that, and therefore maybe he'll hold like Shmuel Sricha. Nosnulozman, the Kamazman, based in, how much does based in give you time to, again, take down a tree, chop, remove your wall? So 30 days. So let's say you have this person's wall that fell, so the guy doesn't have to accept the pieces. So the seifa that says, you know what, why don't you I'll pay for your expenditures and give me back the pieces. Machlal, we can deduce de paninhu askinan, that we're talking about that it was already cleared away. Now, taima de paninhu, the only reason why he could no longer say this is because the guy already cleared away the stones. Halo paninhu lo, but if let's say he didn't clear them, he could still get them back. Why don't we say that this person's field acquires it because the broken pieces are there? Why does he have to have moved it? A person can be kind of things in his property. So that's only if he had kavana to want to do so. Over here, the truth is, he didn't want him to be koinit. He was just trying to push him off. He basically didn't want this person to acquire it at all. And what he really wanted instead was to be able to, at some point, collect it later on. But he didn't want to have to do it immediately. Okay, so So then the Mishnah said that let's say person's getting paid, so you can't pay them in straw. If you mention the first case of the Mishnah where the bricks fell onto the property, the and the guy says, here, just keep those bricks. We don't listen to him because there's no reward. You're not paying this guy. He's just your neighbor. By the case of straw, since you have to pay him, maybe you can just pay him with straw. The Amri Inshi, because people say Mimari Rash Vaseich Pari Ipara, that if he gives you even bran, let it be a collection. In other words, if this is how you're going to be compensated, you want to get paid. So if the guy doesn't have money, he's going to be able to give you bran, you'll take it. From the time where he already accepted it, then at that point you no longer can change your mind. Why? Because you had to pay him, so you paid him, and that's it. You can't change your mind anymore. Since he doesn't owe him for the work, right? The fact that he collected it and everything like that. Maybe he could get his bricks back. Ein shaymin lo, v'asanya shaymin lo. So we actually see in a different place that we do listen to him. So Rav Nachman lo kasha, kan b'shlo, kan b'shel chavero. Depends if it's his or it's his friends. In other words, if he's working for someone else's field with someone else's straw, he's saying you did nothing for me, so I'm not paying you. So better try to at least get the straw. Okay. Armule Rabel Rav Nachman b'shlo my taima. How come if it's his, then the din is different? Let's look at Rashi first of all. V'asanya shaymin lo loymer lepoyol toyma shasis b'scharcha. When he says, basically, take what you did, take the straw. So one place says he could listen to him, he has to take the straw. One says, no, I want the cash. So B'shel Chavero, Rashi says, Shahoysim Alechas Chavero Shaymin lo. If he's doing work, again, for someone else's field with someone else's straw, then he's saying you did really nothing for me, so I'm not paying you, so at least get the straw. So what is the reason, Bishlo, when he's working for you, that you have to pay him in cash? Yermali agrolach, pay me in money. So Bishchel Chavero, Nami Scharo love, why doesn't he say the same thing? The Sanya Saichas Apoyal Lasas Bishlo. So you hire a worker, Varo Bishel Chavero, and you show him someone else's field, Noisel Schar Mishalim. Doesn't matter, you still have to pay him the same amount in cash, apparently. And then you can go and collect from the Baal Habayis what Hana was done. In other words, you still have to pay the guy because he's your worker, but then you, the boss, can go to the person whose field this is and collect money from him because you paid a worker that did work for someone else's field. But the truth is, it says clearly that you still pay in cash. One is his, and one is if it's considered to be ownerless, says Rashi. If it's ownerless, then shaymin lo. Then you have to listen to the guy, and you have to take the straw. So if he's collecting straw, which is hefker, so that's it. And Rashi says, quoting the Gemara we saw previously, that if you pick up an object that's found, lo kana chavero nimsa she'in puloso love ve'in kan bal tolan. So it's ki'ilu, like he's actually doing his own work. It's not bal tolan, because if you're picking up something else, something with hefker or a Metzia, so it's yours. So therefore, what are you going to be compensated? That which you picked up, the straw. However, our Mishnah, where you don't listen to him, is bishlo, where he's actually doing work to collect your own straw. And therefore, for that reason, since he's your worker, that's a case of Bal Tolan, and therefore you have a chiyuv to pay him in cash. Eisvei Rav Rav Nachman, Metzias poyel atzmo. It says that when a poyel works, and he finds an object, he keeps it. Emosai, when is that? Bisman she'ermelo balabayas nacheshimi hayoyim o odarimi hayoyim. That's when he specifies a specific tasks. He says, I want you to plow, I want you to hoe for me. And therefore, anything outside of that, you can keep. However, but if he says, I just want you to work for me, so then it goes to the Balabayas. So we see it's really a case of shalom. It's not, when it comes to the case of Hefker, but if this guy is working for you, just stam, you're hiring him for the day to do a whole bunch of stuff, that would maybe include this as well. And therefore, it's the case of Hefker wouldn't apply in that case. Of course, you could say, well, maybe he specified other imi hayoim is what our Mishnah is talking about. Instead, we go somewhere else. Elam Rav Nachman Lukasha kan b'hagbah, kan b'habata. One is physically doing a kinyan of lifting it up, and the other one is just looking at it. Says Rashi that really idi v'idi b'shel Hefker. Everything we're talking about Hefker straw. Masnisin kisheschar lolakit teven v'kash b'hagba depoil, that you're actually asking him to pick it up. Yal korcha schar love. Therefore, you have to pay him. Ubraisa is kischar molechas havata. All you're doing is asking him to watch it. Kagon lishmor, to guard it. Deleka hagba. There's no hagba. Akati lo zachibe. Ana zil at zachiba. So basically, you can say, I never picked it up, so I wasn't coin it in any way. So therefore, since I wasn't coin it, so then pay me for me watching. But I don't want to be paid in straw, I want to be paid in cash. Amar Rabba habata behefker tanohi. The truth is, this notion of watching an object, which is hefker, is machlokas tanoim. Ditnan. Shaimer sviche shvius. Let's say you have someone who's a guard watching the aftergrowth of Shemitah. Says Rashi, this is referring to barley for the sake of the minchas omer, or for the wheat, for the shtei lechem. So noitel neschar metrumas alishka. So since you're doing God's work, so therefore you're going to be compensated from the trumas alishka. Rav Yossi omer haroitza misnadev hu haroitza misnadev hu v'shamachinam amalo ata omer kain ein boyin mishal tzibor. So we say that this can't be, he cannot be paid from communal funds. Says Rashi, Im nishmocha lo yavia oimer shtei lechem mishal tzibor el mishal yachid. You're actually then bringing it from an individual. Zeh shekanim in a hefker b'shmiraso. This is a problem because since he's watching it, he's being koined, and therefore all of a sudden the oimer and the shtei lechem is not communal; it's an individual. He holds that just watching it is a form of kinyan when it comes to something which is ownerless. So my labah the Tanakama summer havata behefker kani, and therefore he's if you're watching it and it's hefker lo kani, he's not koined. And therefore the din is that it's still fit for a carbon seaboard. And therefore it's only once the seaboard takes it for the omer of the shtei lechem, only at that point do we say the din that they're koined, but not before, and therefore it belongs to a tzibur, not to a yachid. From your words, from your words, ein oimer shtei lechem boy mishal tzibor. So, okay. So that was the. Okay, so Tanakam Savar Habata Behefker Kani, the Yoiv Le Agra, and if you're buying it from him in the Ilo Lo, Rabbi Yossi Savar Habata Behefker Lo Kani, if you acquire it from Hefker, if you're looking, it's not a kinyan. According to your words, it should not be collected because it belongs. It's according to you, it's the tzibors. So it's actually the other way around, the other way I said it. The truth is, just watching something is a kinyan. The shomer is kinda the stuff. We're concerned that he won't transfer it to hektish properly. So the shomer is kinda. The question is, can he transfer it? If you transfer it, then it belongs to the tzibor. The rabbanan saviyavin and leagri, you pay him. The ilo, if you don't pay him, maybe he actually will not have transferred it to the tzibur, therefore it becomes a problem in usage. If Yosef we're not concerned that he won't transfer it wholeheartedly, and therefore for that reason we say that it is considered to be a good, it's good for the tzibur. Okay. Some say that Rabbi really watching Hefker is not a kinyan. We're concerned of Bali Zroyais. What is that? Says Rashi. If you don't announce that this is hektish food, yesh Bali Zroyais, there'll be strong people that will come. They'll end up taking it for themselves. Yosi Savar, so that's the question. Are we concerned of Bali Zerayas? So according to Kamifagi, Tanakama Savar did Takinu Rabbanan Lamesiv Le Arbazuzi, that the Chachamim Masakin to give 4 zuz Kihechi Delishme Bali Zerayas, so that everyone should know that there was a payment for it, and therefore they're going to separate from it because they know it was actually purchased. They don't have the ability to take it for themselves. Rabbi Yossi Savar lo tekino, as we continue to Kuf Yud Chesed Beis, we do not make this takana of giving him money. According to your words, it should not be from the tzibur. So the difference is, again, whether we're concerned of Bali Zeroyas and whether we should pay. Okay, we're going to stop there actually because the Masechta is going to be ending shortly. I'm not just going to do this for tomorrow's daf. So let's look at a couple questions. Question 2. B'mai ukimtel maskana, how do we establish the end? That if he says to the worker that just take the straw, that will actually listen to him. So, bischaro l'melechas havata behefker. We're talking about him watching something, which is hefker. Going lishmor, to watch it, ol hashlich me'aleha l'aretz doleka hagba. A situation where there was no hagba, lo zoch behen bal habayis, and therefore no one was zoicha this. The armalei zil at zachiba, and he says to the Baal Bayis, I want you to go be kind of the straw, and I want to get paid for watching it. Question 3, Sharmis Svichi Shvius, so you have these guards watching the Svichi Shvius for either the Omer or the Shtei Lechem, so you have to pay them from the Trumas Alishka. Rav Yossi says, Haroitzimus Nadev, if he wants, he could give it as a gift, and he's considered like a Shamachinam. So what exactly is this mafocus? So we ended up with 2 answers. The truth is this guy is kainet. The question is, are we concerned that now that he's kainet, will he give it properly to hektish? If he doesn't give it properly to hektish, then all of a sudden it belongs to the tzibur. It doesn't belong to the tzibur. It's a yachid, and you can't use that as a carbon tzibur. Alternatively, the truth is the guy's not koined anyway. But what's the concern? Maybe someone is going to end up grabbing it away. Should we make some type of takana of paying this guy, so this way people will realize that in fact they should not do so? Question TA 14. Three answers. So for question 14, they wanted us to say the last one, which is whether we're chayish l'bali zirayis. Also, the second one, whether or not we're chayish that maybe he didn't give it over yafe yafe. But the first possible answer, which for some reason we didn't see over there, but is the havamin of the Gemara, is bahavata behefker ikani v'havli diyochid. Is it that when a shomer is watching something of hefker, is he kona it? And then since he owns it now, it belongs to him. Question TB 16. Nafal Evan Acher Shehunchel al Hadimus Vezika. We'll see that in tomorrow's daf. Adkan.